We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to We Say Things episode 99.
Ooh, 9.
My goodness, we're almost there. I'm so excited.
Almost where?
To triple digits, which is,
True.
I genuinely didn't know what to expect when we started this podcast, but 100 episodes is pretty damn good. We can retire then, I think. We can be done. The fact that it coincides with I assume to be a ginormous patch, very excited about that. So it's gonna be a doozy. But this
means we're going to talk very little about In Bruges, which is fine.
Well, we're probably going to talk a little about it anyway because you probably haven't watched it, but we'll get to that to another time.
Oh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be a great twist to the whole. God, kill me. Anyway, so before we get started, as per norm, my friends, thank you to our beautiful patrons in the In Bruges tier. I will go the first half this time around. Thank you to an Arkosh gaming cultist here to beat Suns fan with my mediocre play style. Indeed, I am the author, and this seemed like a cheap way to promote my book. Looks like Cinnamon was right. I can't remember the name any. Was it Dragon Knight something? You guys can look at past episodes.
Something Dragon Knight. Damn, what was it?
He'll remind us next week. Tell Kantar _prime life-size Suns fan body pillow ultra kawaii edition. That sounds scary.
No.
What the devil? We're on another level. When Cinderin was screaming, "Show me the money," and Jerry Maguire almost collapsed because I was so into the performance.
You need to scream it.
Show me the money. That's how Tom Cruise did it, actually.
Okay, good.
He started out saying, "Show me the money," very softly.
Okay.
Chikar, Boyko Ostafko Mutro, the Mega Pope, Shannon Cannon's Dragon, Man in Canyons with Abandon, Scotton Gotham, TI in New Zealand. That was a tongue twister right there. I don't know what the hell that was.
All right, let me try that one for you. Shannon Cannon's Dragon Man in Canyons with Abandon. Scotton Gotham, TI in New Zealand.
Thank you.
Why was
Zanxavier.
that so difficult for you to read?
It's the capitalization really got me. Zanxavier.
Shannon Cannon's Dragon.
Suns fan Pudge, Omega Lol, Nate Thicko, 01 Hamscroats, misses Fellowship of the Ping and thinks they should come back as a return of the Ping. Bacon, no, not the Bacon, the other Bacon. And I challenge Patreon before me to a wrestling match. Winner gets to eat Sumail's ass. This guy's, he's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it.
Who do you think is going to win? That guy or Bacon?
That's true. It's a tough one. Go ahead.
I'm cheering for Bacon. All right. Lick, Shark TM, Lion Spammer. Good hero right now, Shannon. Did you know it's been popularized because of the Major?
Yeah, great.
You love Lion. Novi Panda, Dop, eating Chosnick makes you happy and healthy. _man. Spreading COVID-19 at an alarming rate by attending the weekly Ben Alliance meetings still. Pitch Black, Wooden Aftertaste, Done Talk, Dyslexic Lawyer, Anonymous, Peter, the episode 100 hype is real, Niebling, and Ronnie Keel. Thank you guys again. And if you want to be part of supporting the podcast through Patreon, you can check out patreon.com/WeSayThings, where we have different tiers where you get some perks as a thank you for your support of this poddy.
Yeah, it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I
let's get
practiced
started.
10 minutes in front of the mirror this morning saying that perfectly. What do you think?
You did great, Cinderin.
Just kidding.
It's almost
I don't
like you're a
practice anything.
professional at everything you do.
I show up.
That's true. Okay. We have a couple NBA segments.
Oh God.
One of them will
We
be
have
of
one
course,
segment, hopefully.
I will ask you a normal question, and then I will tell you a story about this individual.
Okay.
So let's start out with the question. And this is actually somewhat Dota related because it's interesting to compare and contrast. So in Dota, there's positions 1 through 5. Obviously, 1 being the carry, 5 being the hard support. In NBA basketball, there are 5 positions as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is very hard. I know you won't get that's right at all. What positions are they and what significance do they have on the game?
I'll see how many I can name.
Okay.
There's point guard.
Yeah. Yeah, name as many as you can, and then we can go through the positions.
Center.
Correct.
Oh, fuck, man. I actually got 2. I thought I was going to get 1.
You can do it, Cinderin. You have it inside you.
I Googled it.
Don't Google it. Take as much time as you need. We have an hour and a half to kill. All right, you give up. So the answer to that one is point guard, which is the play. Do you know what the positions mean when I say them? Do you want to guess?
I have literally no idea.
Okay, point guard is like typically the smallest player.
Point. Okay, I think I have it. So
oh boy.
He probably, when those games get played inside, there's like a scoreboard that updates when there's points that get scored. He's like making sure that nobody throws tomatoes at that so everybody can read the score.
Very good. So point guard is typically the shortest player on the team, not always, but typically.
Why very good? Wasn't that a good suggestion?
Yes, you take everything so literally. Thank you so much.
Yes.
He's the guy that dribbles the ball up the court, typically the one that distributes the basketball to the team. All right, he sets up the plays normally. Then there's shooting guard.
Why do they need it distributed? Why can't they just pick it up themselves? How lazy are these players?
I mean, they get paid a lot of money, so probably a little bit. Shooting guard is the guy that, typically, again, it's not always the case, but he will be the best shooter on the team a lot of the time. Then you have
need to make sure people don't get shot as well. So that's the scoreboard and against shooters.
You have small forward.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, small forward and then power forward. So it's 2 different forward positions. And then center, which you already got correctly. Center is the guy in the middle, typically. Again, it's changed a lot over the years. The tallest player for the most part. And center is the 5. Point guard is the 1. And it goes in the same order that I did before. So that is the answer to that.
Does basketball have regulations like boxing matches with like weight class?
No.
Where it's like small forward, you have to be less than 150 pounds. And power forward, you can be no less than 250 pounds.
If they did, then the NBA would be totally different. Because now a lot of teams are playing like small ball, so your center isn't even that tall to begin with. It's all about if you can guard the other team's big guy. If you're good enough to do that and you're smaller, then you can get away with it and you can take advantage on the offensive end because you're going to be faster. So it's a give and take these days as opposed to more traditional like 10, 15 years ago. Okay.
Do you think I would be good at basketball?
Absolutely not. Okay, I want to talk quickly.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
This is a funny story, okay? There's a guy named Paul Pierce, all right?
Yes.
He played basketball for many years. He was on the Boston Celtics for most of his years. He's a Hall of Famer. He won 1 championship with the team. I want to tell you a quick story about what he's known for now in the NBA when he played, and then what just happened to him recently, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So to kind of put this in context, there was this old series back in the day in like the 70s or something like that. The New York Knicks had a guy named Willis Reed. It was in the finals. He was like their best player, and he got injured, okay? They thought he was out for the rest of the game. Instead, he comes back onto the court, like limping, and it boosted their confidence so much they ended up winning the championship. It's a very iconic moment in NBA history, okay? So in the finals, the Celtics, this is more modern history now. Paul Pierce is on them. They're playing the Lakers. I believe it's game 7, so it's the last game, do or die. Paul Pierce gets injured. It looks really bad. They have to carry him off the court, literally carry him like a baby, basically, okay? He comes back 15 minutes later, looking perfectly normal, and his team ends up winning the championship. They're like, oh my God, it's another Willis Reed moment. Years later, aka last year, as an NBA analyst, he admitted he was not injured, but in fact had shit himself during the game. And they had to carry him off.
Both times or just the second time?
Just the second time.
Okay.
They had to carry him off. And he did his business and came back in the game. Everybody thought, the morale was up. If only they knew he had shit himself, I don't know if the outcome would have been different. Anyway.
Maybe the morale went up because it didn't smell like shit on the court anymore.
Yeah,
so
possibly.
People could focus on playing their game.
So he's been an NBA analyst, and
Dude, I should have tried this.
he released a video, I guess by accident. I don't know. He was streaming on Instagram like the other day, completely drugged out of his mind. and it was his son's birthday party apparently, but there were a bunch of strippers in the background, and he's taking live video, and he has a kid, he has a wife, so everybody's like, what the fuck? And then he gets fired because of that. So I just thought I'd bring up a more timely thing. And of course, it's during Corona, and you have all these people in like a, I don't know what the fuck. It wasn't a strip club, I don't think, but it was basically.
Can't even
one
have
inside a
nice
house.
birthday parties anymore. What is this?
Yeah, unfortunate.
Back
Poor
in the
Paul
90s,
Pierce.
things were just easier.
Okay, so that's my story of the week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right, so
That was a good story.
thank you.
It inspired me to shit myself for morale.
Anything's possible in sports, guys, including esports. Okay, so the Singapore Major has ended, and believe it or not, I mean, I took basically the week off of streaming because it was aligned with my stream, which means I got to actually watch most of the games, which is not typical for other regions where I'm sleeping. So let's talk about the results, Cinderin.
Yes.
And we can talk about this for a long time, but let's just talk about the
Big
end
stories,
result, and then we can pick
stories.
and choose.
Yeah.
So let me find the exact standings. Where the hell are the exact standings?
I'll link it to you if you don't have it ready.
I have my Wikipedia open, and it's not. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Oh.
So we talked about some of this last week. That was, but we'll recap again. So the last 4 positions were Nigma, T1, Gambit, and Alliance. And I believe they were all out during the group stage.
Yes.
Then 9 through 12, I guess they're tied, right? So it's Fnatic, Team Liquid, Team Aster, and Quincy Crew. So they end up going out in the, was it technically the second round of the lower brackets for some of these? No, actually it was the first round of the lower brackets, I believe.
Right.
So we can talk about this first. We talked about how we're a little bit surprised that Alliance and Nigma, I mean, a lot of these teams got destroyed right out the gate. I picked Quincy Crew to be top 6, but of course this is with a stand-in, so they get 9 to 12. So I can't say I'm super surprised by that. But basically, it was just Secret alone in terms of EU after that first round Liquid going out. So that's really surprising. That was kind of the story of the tournament.
Yeah, unless you want to count Virtus.pro as EU, but you want to count them CIS, right?
Right. I mean, it is.
We usually
CIS.
separate those two. Yeah.
True. So
yeah, I think so. I guess first of all, in this bottom half, the bigger surprises were, I don't know what expectations people had for Nigma, because they've always been like, or I say always, but in the last half year they've been very hot and cold.
It's true, and they had a stand-in,
and they were cold, and they had a stand-in here, so it was definitely not a good showing for them. Alliance, I think, are the bigger surprise for me, because I think they've looked more consistently good in the last months, and I believe they, yeah, I don't know, I would have probably placed them top 8. So them getting 13th is obviously a big disappointment for them. T1, wasn't really sure what to expect from them. Same for Gambit. So in that bottom 4, I think the 2 EU teams, maybe Alliance, are the surprise. I think Nigma is less surprising, but especially given the stand-in. Then 9 to 12, like you said, Quincy had a stand-in. I could never have placed this team going into the tournament. I just don't know how well they would fare. Liquid may be a bit surprising, but again, Liquid's history as a team in Europe is they will have tournaments where they look great, and they will have tournaments where things don't go so well. They looked really great at the start. They went 6-0 on the first day, and then they barely scraped into the main tournament through a tiebreaker against Gambit. So when you think about that, maybe it makes sense that they lose their next series. And then Astra, I didn't really know what to think. Fnatic didn't really know what to think. So like when you summarize it, it's not really like all too crazy so far. But when we get toward the top, I think some of the things are a lot more surprising, because with these teams getting knocked out, some teams got way further than people expected. So first of all,
to give you an idea on Quincy Crew, of course, like I said, they had a stand-in. It was a really important one. Not that Paulison? Not that he didn't play well, but
Paulson,
MSS he's a god. Like he's the glue for that team.
I think.
And just to give you an idea, in the DPC, NADPC, they beat EG in their one best of 3 matchup. So they're really good. So I don't think they gave their true showing, but go ahead, 7 to 8.
Yeah. So then top 8, we have Virtus.pro in 8th, which I would have predicted to place higher. I would have had them as top 4, but they just did not do too well. I think part of it is probably inexperience on LAN. They have a lot of new players. They need to get some experience against playing against giants on LAN and playing against other regions, which is something you have to learn because, you know, VP have been looking really good in Europe, but you're used to playing against a European playstyle, and you're gonna face different teams that play differently than what you're used to. So can't really say it's too shocking, but obviously people had high hopes for VP and they didn't deliver on that. Vici got 7th, 8th as well. I think that's probably a relatively good placement. You know, multiple teams will be in that mid range. They can't all be number one, top 3. Now the big surprise is SEA got 5th and or sorry, SEA got 5th and SA got 6th. Or 5th, 6th, they both got it's the same placement. So we got Neon Esports got 5th, 6th, and Thunder Predator, which most teams would have, or most people would have probably put bottom 2 going in, ended up top 6, and they absolutely crushed day 1. They went like 8-0 or something on their first day in groups. They finished first in their group, but unfortunately they couldn't transfer it into a top 3 finish. But still, really, really good for SA.
Okay, can we talk a bit about this? I know that with Corona and everything, obviously not everything's going to be perfect. Teams are dropping out, so you have to change the format. I feel like if you win the groups, you choose your opponent. I think that's pretty basic.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Thunder
was.
Predator ends up going against Secret, which is, as of that time, was the most fearsome opponent, and they got crushed. Secret dumpstered them 2-0. So that was obviously very bad luck for Thunder Predator. But like you said, even with that in mind, getting 5th, 6th is a huge accomplishment and a very big surprise.
It is true, though. It's kind of a weird choice, right? I mean, it's one thing if you do random draw for a reason. Like, let's say you go into the tournament and you need to seed the teams. And it's like, you... I mean, okay, let me try this again. So if you think about it, like, let's say Thunder Predator gets first in groups, and all of these playoff teams that come in that are seeded straight into playoffs, Thunder Predator gets to choose their opponent. Then is that fair to the qualified teams that go straight to playoffs that haven't had to show their strength yet? Do you know what I mean?
It should be, because they're supposed to be the favorites no matter what.
Okay, because I think like the thing about the random draw is that you have no idea how strong Secret, IG, Fnatic, VP, and EG are going in. So letting Thunder Predator choose might be unfair to the playoff teams, but at the same time, random draw is also weird. So honestly, I agree. I think they should have been able to choose.
I mean, the entire like benefit of being the quote unquote upper bracket right away is you don't have to go through the group stage to begin with. That's your advantage already. You're not only not having to play a bunch of these games, but you can scout everybody else. So I feel like that's enough of an advantage to warrant that, but didn't happen. So
yeah, so Thunder Predator, LGD, and Vici got to the upper bracket from the group stage, and LGD drew VP, Thunder Predator drew Secret, and IG drew Vici, and then EG and Fnatic played each other, which was 2 of the playoff seats. They were the remaining ones, I guess. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, honestly, the biggest surprise star of this whole tournament is Thunder Predator. I'm super happy that SA got top 6, and I had hoped they would even get top 4, but still a great accomplishment for them. They played really well.
Keep in mind that Beast Coast was the higher ranked SA team, and they couldn't make the trip. So Thunder Predator was, again, I believe somebody, I forget who it was, but they bet, like, how much was it? Like $20 or whatever small amount of money on Thunder Predator.
Yeah, someone got an insane return.
Thousands upon thousands of dollars during the group stage. So good for them. And I think that just shows that, we can talk about the EU region being not as strong, perhaps. It could have just been, you can call it a fluke. I don't know. But it felt pretty consistent that Thunder Predator was just really, really good.
They did not win by any luck. If you win that many games in a row and you look so consistent when you're doing it, it's not chance. It's not really a fluke anymore. As much as people love to meme about OG winning TI by a fluke, it's not a fluke. It's not like, oh, you got lucky twice in the biggest tournament ever. How lucky. Fluke. Okay.
I mean, overconfidence could have had something to do with it as well for some of these EU teams, especially. But who knows?
Possibly, yeah. But then again, then it's still not a fluke, right? Then that's there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I think of flukes differently than other people do. But Top four. Team Secret got fourth, which is almost sounds weird to say because
Yeah.
we're so used to saying Secret got first. But they actually lost fair and square 2 series in a row. LGD got third, and then EG second and IG first in a finals that EG should have just closed out 3-0.
Oh man.
They
Oh
crushed them
man.
2 games. They were far ahead game 3. They went on the high ground. They made some mistakes, lost it, and then the momentum swung in a really big way. And I think IG kind of figured out after that game 3 what drafting buttons they needed to press to cripple EG
Well,
and kind
okay.
of taking advantage of the pool that EG ended up running in all the games.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about that from IG's perspective. So watching this match was pretty incredible. After this is not an exaggeration. After 2 games and then halfway through game 3, I start typing up my congratulatory message on Twitter for EG.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm so happy Arteezy finally got his first major. That's a good monkey off the back. Fly gets his 5th, which is I believe that's a record. That would be a record. I'd be surprised if it's not.
I think so.
Which it's just that's somebody that nobody ever talks about is Fly. That's so incredible. And then they proceed to lose the next 2.5 games in pretty convincing fashion, honestly. Like you're right, they had that lead in game 2 they should have won, and it felt like they just kept drafting Storm Spirit. It's not like Abed. We'll talk about the MVPs and everything, but Abed was unbelievably good. But I felt like they were being a bit stubborn with the picks at the same time, because obviously IG figured them out. Like Kaka kept picking Lion, which you brought up earlier, probably the hero of the finals specifically. Just that instant disable was really crucial for a lot of these pickoffs, and it just goes to show that momentum is not just like a traditional sport thing. Like just because they're playing on a computer doesn't mean momentum has little effect or lesser effect than regular sports. It's fucking huge.
It's a mental concept, right? It's not really a physical thing.
Right.
Momentum is a physical concept, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean,
sports,
sir.
we think of it mentally. So I just wanted to point it out because I love being literal and shit. So there you go.
You sure do. But Emo's.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Emo's question mark at the end of game 2, or end of game 3? So he was being tipped constantly to try to be tilted by EG, and then they end up winning game 3. Keep in mind, game 2 was a throwaway game. They picked Faceless Void, who may be the worst carry in the entire game.
I don't know why you would pick that hero.
He ended up chronoing an egg twice in a row. Like it was. Oh no, was that the different game I'm thinking of the black hole maybe. Anyway, the Chronospheres didn't do anything. Void was never farmed. It was a bad pick. That was like a 2-0 start for EG, and they should have won. But then after all the tipping, they end up coming back. IG does in game 3. And
imagine that. Not only do they come back, but what other carry did they pick? They picked fucking Sven.
That's true. Sven, and they ended up picking Spectre.
I was watching
this,
and I was like, ID, how are you expecting to win when you play Void and then Sven?
Right.
And then somehow they win the game from some high ground mistakes from EG, and all of a sudden they start picking Bloodseeker, which looked like it was really good for EG. So they changed things up a bit. But
yeah, the Bloodseeker against Pango feels unplayable during game 4, and then game 5 was Spectre versus Lifestealer, and you have this Lifestealer bomb into the Storm Spirit, which is good traditionally, but Lifestealer just feels like kind of a weak hero right now.
Oh, I hate Lifestealer.
And Spectre, Spectre's not exactly a great hero right now either, but if you get farm on her, she's gonna carry the game pretty much no matter what. It's just a lot of times it's outpaced.
On average, I would love to have Spectre over Lifestealer in my pub games. That's for sure. I'm a true Lifestealer hater right now. I think the hero is really bad, but like some of the worst it has ever been in Dota 2. That's what I think right now, because he lost open wounds. I just think that was such a huge part of the hero that went down the drain. You take a carry and you remove his slow that his team benefits from, and force him to walk in and start slapping people for less damage than he used to. It's kind of like, I don't know, not a fan, but. I guess EG wanted to pay back the Void pick, so that it evens out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, what do I think about the question mark? I don't know. I feel like most people think it's hard to say, man, you shouldn't be allowed to question mark when we have offensive tips in the game, right? Like either you have both or you have neither. That's my opinion on it. So I saw there was some drama where people are like, man, that's really BM. And like nobody spoke up when EG was spam tipping a guy who made mistakes. Like, do you want it or not then? Like you can't have...
So my take on it. So just to get people up to speed, I don't have the tweet up right now, but Knoxville
Mm-hmm.
ended up tweeting about it, saying he didn't like it and he hopes that it's, could be punishable. And then he gets
Mm-hmm.
completely shit on Reddit. So first and foremost, I don't agree with Knoxville's take on this at all, but I think shitting on somebody that's done so much for the scene over the years is not exactly. I mean, it's actually proving his point to some degree that there's a lot of toxicity in the scene, if anything.
Do we need that proven though?
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of like a facepalm moment in my eyes. But like in terms of trash talking, I feel like it's really good for the game. I actually do. I feel like there's a line, and it's all dependent. Like for Knoxville, the line is just a little bit closer than somebody else, right? Which
Right.
everybody's entitled to their opinion on what they want for the game. I think it's really good for the game. Now, if you're getting racist or toxic in a way that is considered prejudice or whatever the hell, sexist, any of that stuff, obviously that's way over the line. It should be punishable. Question mark?
Right.
For me, it's equivalent to the tipping, which you just
That's
brought
what
up.
I think too.
It's exactly
It's like, it's like, what the hell are you doing kind of thing, right? Which is the exact same thing when people offensively tip when they gank them or they miss a spell. Like when someone black holes nothing in a game, I think on average they get tipped 3 times. Probably. That's average. So
yeah, probably.
I'm kind of in the camp that I would not mind if it got removed, but I also don't think it's terrible that it's there. And I think if you remove it altogether. Then you don't have trash talk, you don't have tipping, you only have ally tips, right? You could have that as part of the game, where you could tip an ally for a cool play or whatever as a flavor. But I understand there's a lot of like storylines and a lot of value for the audience in creating drama. And I think storylines in a game like Dota, where the pros notoriously aren't very, how to say it, they're not making a lot of content, right? A lot of them, at least. You don't see them that much on camera. You don't get that much of a feel for the personalities. You don't get to build those storylines of this player hates this player or loves this player or these guys, blah, blah, blah. There are some stories, especially if you're very invested in the game, that you know, but compare it to a lot of sports, then the narratives aren't driven nearly as hard. And it's also because in those sports, the players get paid a lot of money to do, more camera appearances, more public stuff than esports players do. And Dota is one of the worst esports at marketing their players. That's my opinion. I'm pretty sure. Like you look to other games, they do a much better job.
That's mainly because there's not much structure within like the team-based system, right? There's not a like DPC League is great and all, but it's not as, I don't know, like League. Obviously, that's another extreme. We don't need to get into that, but it's much more structured in a way that you're more incentivized. In fact, probably part of the rules to do stuff like that.
I think so.
But I agree. I mean, I don't agree with your take that you would personally like. My opinion is I would like it to stay in the game because the storyline is such a big part of Dota. Like that makes the matchup so much more interesting from even just a casual perspective. Like we're talking about how the game is not approachable, for a lot of people. This helps a lot. Like the no-tail versus fly rivalry, whatever you want to call that these days. Like that's good for the game. I know it sucks balls for, I guess, Fly, especially now that he's lost this major, but it's really good for the game, in my opinion.
I guess in comparison, that was not something that was fueled by all chat or tipping, right? Like that was actually something
drama
outside of the game, which is still inside the game. But like the point is, I think. Like, imagine this. Imagine you could take the trade-off of removing tipping and removing offensive BM in game or whatever you want to call it, and the trade-off was that we got to have more player stories in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it probably feels like this is really nice and kind of, in quotation marks, needed because we have less of those stories. But if you imagine we had a very broad media side to the game where you knew a lot more about the players, then you would get the stories from there instead. Then you could like build narratives about teams and players that are rivals for whatever reason. But yeah, it's just not being done that well in Dota. So just quickly before we move on from this finals, you pointed out the 5 Storm picks. Nobody talks about Phoenix being picked 4 times by IG. It's like it wasn't only the Storm that was like a recurring one, but the reason people love to talk about it was that the losing team picked the same hero 5 times, right? But the winning team also won 3 Phoenix games in a row in the end. So with the logic of EG shouldn't have picked Storm more times, then maybe IG shouldn't have picked Phoenix every game, but they did. I just think there's like there's a difference in what these heroes bring to the table, how crucial they are to the draft, and how counterable they are.
I know it's not as easy as what I was saying.
So
I understand that. It's not as black and white, but at the same time,
mhm.
Storm is your mid, where Phoenix is your support. So
Yes,
there is a difference.
and it's a pretty one-dimensional hero.
And it's funny, the one game they did not pick it is the Void game, which had no chrono setup whatsoever. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at this and asking myself, what is like they have Void Spirit, Abaddon, Alchemist, and Lion to go along with Void.
I
So it's
think
basically Earth Spike into Acid Spray. That's your
I
combo.
think it's the worst Void pick I have seen in a very long time. And I look at all of their other drafts, and Void would have been better in literally any of the other 4 games than that one. I don't know what they were doing.
They ended up farming
that was not a good
the
pick.
Ags
That
onto the Void Spirit, which is obviously what you do as the offlane
Yeah.
Alchemist. And then I believe he got one for Void, which helped. His is the you time walk in and you bash everything, which it is a good Ags, but it's more one of those that scales once you get a bunch of items, which you never ended up getting, right?
Yes,
So that's the inherent
exactly.
issue with Void in general.
But yeah, crazy though. Like honestly, the story IG coming back from that was pretty incredible. Not because they came back from 2-0, but because they came back from 2-0 and almost being knocked out. Like
And the first
the
2
third
games
game
were
looked bad.
31 minutes and 28 minute stomps for EG. Not even close.
They're getting rolled.
And then it just turned around the other way. It's one of the best comebacks of all time, easily. That's what best of 5. That's why best of 5s are amazing in Dota. If the games were shorter, like on average, then I would like best of 5s for every series, honestly. But that just doesn't work when games are typically this long. Okay. So other things we can talk about is kind of some of the heroes that were picked a lot or banned a lot. So top 5 bans. By far, IO is up there, which will probably get a mega
IO
nerf.
core is.
So let me ask you a question about this, because I was talking to my stream about this earlier. Like, we talk about heroes that are really, really hard to balance. They're always either garbage or really like OP, right? So IO is one of those heroes, and most of the time, if you want to pick, it's going to be OP. So in general, I really like that a lot of heroes have tons of flexibility. That's one of my favorite things about Dota. I feel like this hero should not also have flexibility. Like it should just be a support. Being core, it's just, I don't know. It's too hard to balance. Like, how do you balance this? Because if you play this at low levels, it's going to get completely dumpstered. Wait, what did I say?
No, you said it's. Never mind. Just move on. I think it made sense.
So, do you agree that it should just not be a core? They should. Just
I think we should always
support?
strive. I think we should strive for letting heroes play multiple roles as long as it doesn't compromise balance too hard, right? And that's your point here, is that you think it's almost impossible. I think we've had patches where IO was good as support and core, but not broken on either. I think it is possible. But whenever you rework a hero as much as they did with IO, I think it's really hard to hit that spot the first try. So Overcharge got changed, Spirits got changed, Tether got changed, right? All of those 3 spells got reworked a bit. Like not complete reworks, but number changes. If you remember the old Overcharge, that was the one that used to give attack speed at the cost of it gave attack speed and damage mitigation at the cost of your own health and mana per second, which I thought was a really cool design, because you're like overcharging yourself, you're like draining yourself to improve your carry as a support wisp or yourself as a damage wisp. Now it just gives attack speed and health regen. It's like literally just a huge buff you place with no risk, no downsides. And then you have the spirits, and mainly, honestly, I think the main thing that makes core IO so brutal is Helm of the Dominator.
Not Ags.
Working the way that it does. If that was changed, or like the Dominator creep didn't have such a high base move speed, or if IO didn't flat out just get the move speed of the target, there's many ways of going about this. But if you imagine Helm of the Dominator not being in the game, I don't think core IO would be that broken. Like just that one thing. So it's that hero item combination,
it's funny.
which is so powerful.
Is he the only hero that buys Helm every game? Does Clinks even buy Helm? It's just literally an IO item at this stage. It's garbage for everybody else. Okay, so other heroes that were banned a lot: Timbersaw, Puck, Alchemist, and Death Prophet. So, I mean, we can probably imagine some nerfs, sizable ones to some of these heroes for sure. And then in terms of heroes that actually bypass the pick or the ban screen, Puck is still the top picked hero in the tournament, followed by Death Prophet again, Void Spirit, Tusk, and we talked about Phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to like what we think is going to come out in the next patch soon, but first let's wrap up the major. So in terms of the actual viewership for the major, 590,000 views for the EG/IG finals, which is really good.
Yeah.
What did you think of the production? Let's talk about that before we actually no. Before we get to the production, let's talk about personal MVPs. MVP of the
Okay.
tournament. Because I have two and they're different.
Hmm.
Different criteria. So for me, the final MVP for just the finals is Kaka.
Right.
He was an apps. I've never seen a lion like. I feel like this hero is just. I hate this hero so much, but I was very impressed with what he was able to do. But if I had to pick an MVP for the tournament as a whole, it has to be Abed. He looked like the literal best player in the entire world. Not even close. He was super consistent until those last 3 games. So as like the full tournament perspective, I would still pick Abed despite them losing the finals. How about you?
I think so. Okay, this is a little bit separate, but I think maybe we can choose it. Damn, can you be MVP without being a player?
No,
Like if you're a coach,
I don't think so.
you can't count that, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Most valuable player. That's what it
Okay.
stands for.
Has to be the player. Okay.
Why? Who would you have chosen here?
I would have chosen. I mean, it's always hard to say with team dynamics and stuff, but I think in terms of just improvement with Hero Pool and how they played, I actually think Bulba deserves a lot of credit this tournament. Because the community loves to shit on him when EG lose on drafts and stuff. But EG came in with quite a variety of heroes, quite a lot of strategy, and some really, really strong how to say, their hero pool was powerful this time. It has felt in previous lands sometimes like EG's hero pool, they're good at it, but it's not like extremely strong for the patch. I think this time they really nailed it. And then people are like, haha, Bulba, why did you pick Storm 5 times? You lost. If they would have won one of those 5 games, nobody would have said shit, right?
True.
So I think their strategy is really good. Anyway, if I had to pick a player, I guess I choose Crit. I think also Crit is super consistent. I think a lot of standout plays. And I think when EG does well, a huge part of it is always Crit because of the way they tailor their strategy and their drafts. And that is what also makes Abed look so good, right? Because if you look across the hero pool that Crit mainly plays in this tournament, it's a lot of Earth Spirit that he's a master on. Tusk he plays. And those 2 heroes, as examples, are exceptionally good at ganking mid. So you build that kind of synergy with your mid hero, allowing it to shine. And that's really good in this patch.
They worked really well together. But having said that, again, not taking any credit away from Crit because he is a god, but it felt like every game, minus the last 3, even some of the last 3 actually, Abed is just crushing his lane without any help at the beginning, like literally double CS a lot of the time. The mechanical skill on this guy is just beyond anything else I've seen so far in professional Dota. And the thing I like about EG, I've not been a huge EG fan in the past, like past rosters, because they just always gave off like a douchey vibe. Am I the only one? I looked at them as the Lakers of the Dota scene. I just could never really truly root for them because it's always somebody very douchey. But I like every single player on this roster. They're all very nice. I love Bulba. I know he gets a lot of shit, like you said, but I've always been a big Bulba fan. Everybody's super likable in this roster. Like Fly is one of the most likable, if not the most likable captain in Dota, in my opinion. Just nothing, like he never talks shit. He just seems like a good dude. So pretty sad to see them lose, honestly. But the improvement that they showed from the DPC, pretty drastic. And they said that they didn't really practice, which I don't know how much I should believe that. But they looked really good in this tournament, and then just kind of threw, which is kind of EG style in the end of the day.
And I was kind of in the same spot as you. Like I really think Arteezy deserves to win a major tournament.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Like the storyline and the meme of him never getting there is obviously something that a lot of people thrive on and really enjoy. That there's this like exceptionally talented player that just never wins. But he really, like, if you look across tournament history, I think he has played well enough that he deserves to win at least one major or a TI at this point, right? And it just sucks. And then the problem about being in a position like that, where I don't know how many top 3s he's had at majors and TI now. He's the most winning player that never won in terms of prize money. It's like he's got so many top 3s, so many finals, so many 4th places, without getting that big win, is that the narrative, it's got to be annoying, right? The narrative whenever EG loses is that Arteezy can't win. Even if he played amazing in the finals, people would still attribute a lot of it to him just being on the team. And I can imagine that's just fucking annoying, right? Like, you're obviously going to filter it out, but it's just such an annoying attribute to be assigned, right? To be the guy who can't win. So I really want him to win.
I do too, because I mean, maybe this is good for him in the long run, because
Maybe.
he was a young kid, he was winning a lot, but then he didn't really win any of the huge tournaments like TI or any major. But a lot of these young kids came in and they did win a couple, and then they get kind of overconfident. They become, like I said, they become real douche nozzles. And I hung out with Arteezy briefly at what was that, WCA, when he was a stand-in for us at DC because Yawar couldn't make the flight. He's pretty chill. Like I never get any douche vibes from Arteezy.
He's a good guy.
He just seems like a good dude, very chill. And again, maybe in the long run, this is going to be good for him. Because I think they're only going to get better. And there's still one more major to go before TI. But again, I said this early on in the DPC season, even though they didn't look that great during that time because they were kind of newly put together roster with the addition of Ice Ice Ice. On paper, this is the best team in the world. If you just look at pure talent, I don't think anybody's even close, honestly. That's how I feel.
Really? You don't think anybody's even close?
No, I don't think okay, Secret's probably close.
I would disagree with that, but they're definitely very,
on
very
paper,
talented.
they're like, I don't think anybody on paper is better. Let's put it that way. You could put a couple teams close to them, whatever the case, but I put them in high esteem. Okay, so in terms of the tournament production, I just want to talk about this briefly. First of all, overall, the tournament was really well done. Shout out to PGL, did a great job. The green screen. What are your thoughts on the green? Let's talk about this for a moment. The green screen that they used for a majority of the tournament.
I really hate green screen.
Now, a lot of people on my stream said
mine's scuffed as fuck, but they might have used that one.
A lot of people on my stream said that the Cinderin green screen might have been better than the Majors green screen. What do you think?
So, I think pulling off green screen, so this is a little bit technical, but pulling off a green screen in that type of room with that type of lighting at those angles is really difficult.
Right.
Green screens usually work the best if, okay, I'm not going to be too technical because then I'm going to say something fucking stupid that's just wrong. But based on my experience with other tournaments, usually the green screen gets transformed into something very simple and something kind of monotonous. And I think maybe this green screen setup was trying to do a little bit too much because they wanted to one-up stuff and be really, exceptional. Yeah. And unfortunately, if you try to do something incredible like that and it isn't like truly believable, then that just ruins it a bit, right? Like you can't. It's better, in my opinion, it's better to have something simple and stable that looks clean than trying to do something really cool where you can tell a bit too much that it's fake. I mean, everybody knows it's fake, but it's still something about the visual appeal in it, right? So yeah, I admire them for trying it. I think it's really good to push the technical boundaries and try to make things better, such as like the 4K YouTube stream, which I believe ran really well. I don't watch on YouTube, but from what I heard, it was solid, at least most of the time. They had some major technical stream hiccups on day 1, I think it was, and maybe some on day 2, but it got improved. That happens all the time to tournaments. It's nothing new. Obviously, we'd rather be without it, but production setups are difficult to do. There's going to be unpredictable stuff that happens sometimes, and yeah, the main thing is how you adjust it, in my opinion. When tournaments have production issues and it doesn't improve, like the Shanghai Major where things were just like what the fuck for a couple days, versus this where there's clear improvements, I think that it should be applauded when things go better, but at the same time I understand that people are frustrated that things aren't working perfectly from day 1. We have problems with that even at TI. Just for reference, sometimes there's stuff that needs to be ironed out from the first day.
I think you put it pretty well. Like in terms of the green screen, they're just trying to do too much. I mean, but I think my criticism would be if you're going to go for something like that, the theme I didn't find interesting at all. And the fact that the main model that you're showing is Morphling, the literal worst model in the entire game, is mind-blowing.
What a choice, actually.
You literally cannot pick a worse hero. But
then you could blame it on Morph. If your green screen doesn't look good, it's like, well, we have Morphling. Nothing makes Morphling look good.
So that's
pretty smart, actually.
So I watched the YouTube stream for the most part. It was actually, the YouTube UI is pretty garbage, so it's actually difficult to find because the link changes every day.
Really?
It's pretty bad, actually. But once you find it, It's 30 seconds behind the Twitch stream, which was also slightly annoying. But the quality, Cinder, holy ball sack. I did not even realize what I was missing. I go back to Twitch and it looks like a pile of garbage. It's not just the resolution. 4K, obviously great. Even if I'm watching on my 1440p monitor, which is not 4K, looks incredible. Even if you watch it on 1080p, regular 1080p, the bitrate is like triple what Twitch allows. Twitch is 6K bitrate, which is pretty low.
Yeah.
So as an industry, we should all hope that YouTube and, well, I don't know about Facebook, but maybe Facebook, since Mixer's gone now, if they can somehow just compete a little bit with Twitch, because Twitch, all they need to do is like flip on that switch. They can do it. It's just there's like no point. Nobody's competing with us. Why would we spend extra money on servers for bandwidth? But I'm telling you, man, that it was a fucking treat to watch. It looked incredible. Again, I've watched 4K stuff on my TV, like on Netflix and stuff like that, and obviously looks great. I've never seen Dota in 4K. It's really good. 60 FPS 4K. Nice. Extremely, extremely good. And now I can't watch Twitch anymore. Looks like garbage.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just never watch 4K then, so I can still watch Twitch.
Indeed. Okay, so last thing about the major, the All-Star match occurred, Cinderin. I cast it with Jenkins, and you were the victor. Congratulations, my friend. I'm so proud of you. You died like 15 times, I think, along with Snaking and Dendy.
Yeah, good. Thank you. It wasn't just me.
Puts you in good company, right? That's very good. You picked support Luna and fed relentlessly, but you were helped out quite a bit by Firetoad, enabling a lot of cheats, essentially.
My man.
What did you think of the All-Star match?
I thought it was really fun. And I would have also thought it was really fun if we lost. Like, we weren't playing for anything. It's just for show, right? So it's just clowny. All of the fact that none of the teams had played the map before, I think was really, really good. It added a lot to it, that there was these elements of surprise that we didn't know what was coming. And we just had to adapt on the spot to crazy situations with like the cookies, with the black hole, with everything happening. So I thought that was really fun. And I think it's a good template for how you can run show matches at TI and stuff, where not really going to think too much about what players you pick, but the show matches are very hit or miss with what actually happens in the game, because sometimes they're like stompy, sometimes they're boring. I think having some sort of chaotic force in the server that can just make things happen is actually really good for a show match.
I think
that should be inspiring.
Like, it should be, because we talked about this before. All-Star matches in the past, like the really good ones, are usually just the new heroes being introduced, right? That's the main draw, which is great. I think that if they have a new hero that they want to actually show off at TI, then do it. If you don't, you got to do something crazy like this. I think getting like fan participation, they vote for what buff or nerf or whatever you want to call it gets put into the game, like as the game is live. That's really cool. Like, think about that. Like, you can get Twitch chat voting and all that stuff. So that would be really cool. I got to test the game mode like a few days before. We had to nerf some stuff, and I think they nerfed the tidal wave a little too much, because that was insta-gibbing us before, and then it did like no damage to you guys at the end.
Yeah, well, I was the only one dying to that, so that was great. Yeah, I got caught in it forever, and then I got ganked.
Yeah, you were doing great. Good job.
It stopped me.
Good job, buddy.
It was great.
So that was the All-Star match
lots of fun.
For the major. I think like Netflix was the one that basically initiated this whole thing, to my understanding, which is really cool. They want to get like very involved, like with all the stuff that they've done around the anime. I think it's extremely cool, like the giveaways and all that stuff. They edited the video with the player voices, which was awesome. I think the only thing I didn't like is that they cut out some of the video of the game. They just like it. You didn't really miss that much, but it felt kind of weird to just cut it up like that. But overall, extremely good stuff. So was happy with it.
You did a great job casting. I listened back to it. It was fun.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't have listened to it. I feel like they actually cut out the part at the end where I'm like, because you know how I'm always a little self-conscious after I rip you apart. I'm like, some people probably think I hate Cinder. So let me just one more time, because again, my girlfriend will come to me after a podcast episode. You were so mean to Cinderin. She doesn't really sound like that, but
now you're being mean to her.
All right, she's gonna be mad at me later. But I basically was gonna say preface, but it was post-faced it with, guys, I'm friends with Cinderin. He's okay with me ripping him apart. We appreciate it. He won, so he should be happy. So thank you, Cinderin, for being such a good friend. Okay, next thing on the list, roster shuffles. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this, but Viking.gg picked up Kezu, so that's a replacement for, it was Toby that left, right?
Yeah, very unsurprising. They announced Toby leaving some weeks ago. Kezu has been playing as a stand-in. They got some pretty good results, and I think he's a good fit, so it makes a lot of sense.
Navi made a little bit of a surprising move and added,
yeah.
So let's talk about the context of this. So literally 2 days ago, I feel like, maybe 3 days, Ramses tweets, "I'm available. Somebody pick me up for season 2." And Navi did that. They dropped General and they pick up Ramses. So that's position 3, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah,
Ramses, I mean, he said that's one of the 2 positions he's willing to play. Whether he's a good offlane, I feel like I've seen 1 game with him playing offlane with EG, so didn't last very long, obviously. What are your thoughts on this change?
So he started out on offlane in Pro Dota, I believe, and then he became a carry for VP, and
I didn't know
he
that.
still plays offlane. So his way of playing offlane is, I would say, more farm intensive than some other players. I think he likes carrying from the offlane more so than enabling. So maybe we'll see them draft around that a bit. But yeah, I think this was a controversial pickup, not because of the player, but because of how Navi had been doing and how much General had contributed. And then they didn't get to go to the major because of COVID. And then they just replaced their offlaner within 2 days of him announcing, "Hey, I'm looking for a team." And now General is out there looking for a team himself. So obviously this stuff happens all the time, that players get moved around and you get someone else. But I think the reason this is as controversial as it is that Navi had started doing really well, and they had like grown a lot as a team in the last few months. They got the 2nd place finish at ESL 1 Germany back in, when was that, September or whatever. And they qualified for the major, and they've had like great synergy in games, good strategy, played well around each other, and then you make changes like this. I think that's why it's controversial. If they had sucked, then nobody would be batting an eye. They'd be like, yeah, try something new, get Ramses. But it's got to be a bit bitter here.
Yeah, it feels like
General.
they're taking a superstar type talent, but we haven't.
Yes.
He hasn't really been a superstar as a 3 yet. He's shown that he's really good at 1. You said he started out as 3. I haven't. Again, he hasn't really had a pro career where he's been prolifically amazing at the 3 position. So we'll see. I've also heard from some people that he's like, we can talk about Sumail, why the hell this guy is not on a roster, but like from Ramsey's perspective, I've heard somewhat negative things in terms of the personality involved with him, like being super, super mega toxic, like the literal most toxic player. So not to sugarcoat it, like mega super toxic. So we'll see how that works on their dynamic. Of course, we don't know the full story with why General was let go. Maybe they were going to let him go anyway. We have no clue. We have no insight into this information. So we'll
doubt
see.
it. I'm pretty sure it was because of this. But so what I gathered from, I think I read a comment or 2 about this saying that Always Want to Fly into Iceberg, that it was their dream to play with Ramses a while back or whatever. So maybe it's something that the players have really wanted. But yeah, things change, situations change. I genuinely can't tell you if I think this is an upgrade or not. My gut says no, actually, to start, because for me, Ramses is better as a carry. And I think their team dynamic worked really well because of how General plays and what heroes he plays.
Should
so I think this is
VTune be
going to be like a
scared,
revamp.
Cinderin? They're position 1.
I don't know. What's your solution then? You get Ramses to carry, and you're like,
General
hey, General, want to come back? Playoff. Oh man, what a look
Control
that would be.
Z, Control
surely
Z.
That's not going to happen. But yeah, we'll see. It's obviously exciting to see his name there. But yeah, personally a bigger fan of him on position 1.
So in addition to that, no one has joined Gambit. AS Monaco Gambit, sorry. And who did he replace, actually?
I think they had FN, and then he was a stand-in, and then he joined, right?
Oh, okay.
Did he?
So that's going to be Dream, No One, Afterlife, Immersion,
GPK.
and Seneko playing the position 5 there. So no one will retain the mid role.
Okay, I'm looking through the history here. They had GPK, then GPK left to join VP Prodigy. It says here, which, okay, I'm a little bit unsure about this exact thing. But they were called VP Prodigy at the time, and now it's VP, right? And then FN joined for a short period of time in February as a stand-in, and then they chose to get no one. I think that's how the chronology is here. It's a little bit
It's
confusing.
amazing that this the original VP roster, like when I think of VP, I think of no one, Solo, Ramses, etc. None of them have really found success. They're just kind of just bouncing around left and right. That surprises me a little bit because they were just so individually skilled. But hopefully they find success with their new
The reason I'm a
teams.
little bit confused here is that I could have sworn I read that no one left Gambit. And that he was like just standing in, and then he made a post that he's looking for a team, and now he joined Gambit.
Oh,
I mean, I have to admit, let's try to find it.
let's see. I'm looking at their roster.
So April
history
2nd,
here.
he tweeted out, looking for team position 2, CIS EU, message me. That's 4 days ago.
February 11th,
is-
a new roster announcing the current Live to Wins roster, and no one joins as a stand-in. That's February 11th. So now he joins as a full member.
Okay, so this was 16 hours ago he officially joined. So he was looking for team while being a stand-in. And then he joined the team that he was a stand-in of. So they didn't work that out beforehand. He made a public search, and then, okay. All right, well,
And
he's in
then
Gambit.
The final change that I know of, at least, is Masaros. Is that the right way to pronounce it? Is out
Something like that.
of Fnatic. That's their position 3, and they have yet to replace him, to my knowledge. Of course, Fnatic not doing too hot at the major, which, not everybody can do well, but they had, I wouldn't say super high expectations, but higher than where they placed. So
Masaros wasn't there, right?
Oh, is he one of the stand-ins? Let's see.
Am I
April
mistaken
4th, 2 days ago, he was put on the inactive roster, and that's all the notes that I have. So unless there's something that I'm missing.
Death was playing for Fnatic. Was that instead of Masaros?
No, I don't know. Do your research, Suns fan. Cinderin as well. Damn it!
Dude,
Can't wait for those comments.
We do a lot of research. We just don't know this one. We make mistakes. That's okay.
It's okay. All right.
Oh, so Death was playing with Neon. I'm being stupid. Fuck that. Yeah. He was playing for Neon. So
get your shit together, Cinderin.
Yeah,
all right.
My bad.
So with that, Shannon, let's move on to patch predict. This is gonna be the last segment. We don't even have Patreon mailbag questions. Our Patreon people need to ask us questions. Okay. But let's talk about what we think will come out next week. Again, that's episode 100. It will be the normal time of the week. But this Friday, there will be a big patch. There will be a hero that's been announced, and there will be a balance patch. That's all we know. So what are you expecting? It's less about hoping. What are you expecting? We can kind of tag team this if you want. We can go back. I've written down a few things if you want to go off of that. So one thing that I think they will actually finally do, because I think the rune situation is kind of a mess right now. I think that they will have the thing that's in Han, essentially, some form of that, where on the opposite side of the river, when a rune spawns, there's something that you can put in the bottle to give it 2 charges or whatever the case may be.
We used to have that in Dota, actually. We have had that. I think it gave 2 charges, but that's a long time ago. I think that's almost Dota 1, right? It's a really long time.
Why don't?
But we have.
Am I remembering it from Dota and not Han? What am I remembering? Maybe that was from Dota. Wasn't it even in Han? Shit! Now, do your research.
I mean, I think it's fair. Like, this game has changed a million times over 15 years. You can't remember everything correctly or find everything.
All right, people are saying it was bounties or the opposite one. Is that true? Were they?
Yeah, there was a time when there was one bounty and one regular rune spawning at the same time, right? And you would always try to get one of them. Okay. And you would hope you got the power rune because it filled your bottle fully, whereas the bounty rune only gave 2 charges.
Right.
And then didn't usually allow for plays. Whereas
so I think the one I'm thinking of was never in Dota. It was just Han. Pretty sure. I mean, what would you think of having something that it's just there to fill up your bottle? That's literally it. You still have people coming in to deny it. Like right now, the issue is the rune is just so important, right? Of course, the first rune maybe not as much because a minute later you can go get a bounty, but it still has an importance. You have people TPing into mid lane just to fill up bottles, which is really messy. I feel like it's kind of a weird mechanic in general, but kind of has to be there with the current state of things. What do you think?
I think honestly, in some ways, it's good to have something like that to spice up games. I just think some of the runes are too good. Actually, I think that's the bigger problem than that one player gets it and the other one doesn't. Is how relatively huge impact they have. Like double damage and haste, for example, are insane in what they do. Right? Think about how many games get in a tough spot and then a carry gets DD, and it can just change the whole outcome of the game based on carry getting
Can I have a counter argument here? So first of all, they're never changing double damage because imagine you pick it up and an announcer says when you activate it, 1.5 times rune. That's not happening.
You could
1.5
call it
times
something
damage
else.
rune. No.
You could call it the
damage rune.
You could call it power rune, and then it just gives you more attack damage.
But it is a power. It's already a power rune.
Oh God, I fucking hate you.
It's going to be called the damage. Like double damage. They're just going to take the same voice lines and just delete the double. So it's like damage rune. It's going to sound terrible. They're not redoing all the voice lines. Too much work for Valve.
That's true. Yeah, they would need to redo voice lines, so that's not happening. Okay. No. So do I think that would be fine? Sure. I think versions where you get a secondary rune is fine as like a mitigating factor. But the trade-off there is when a team has map control, they are now getting 2 runes. So it's even harder to play from behind. And I think right now, Dota, when you're losing, is really hard. Yeah, and that's fine. It's fine that it's difficult, but I think it's too difficult to come back, especially at a pro level. We obviously had a great story with IG doing it in that game 3, but a lot of games feel, to me, a bit too determined 25 minutes in, where you can kind of see the writing on the wall a lot of the time. And I think it's good for the game when it's a bit less predictable how things are going to end. So that's the first thing, is that the team in control will get the 2 runes. You remember we had this patch where at 40 minutes, both power runes spawned at the same time, right? We had 2 power runes in the river every time at 40 minutes and onward. Oh, that got removed the next patch because it was considered way too powerful to be ahead, right? So yeah, if it's like a filler rune, if it does nothing except refill the bottle, then it's whatever. But if it's like even a bounty rune, then I think it starts mattering quite a bit to be ahead. So do you want to do like some sort of a ghost rune? Sure, just to help people fill up bottle for fairness. I'm fine with that.
Ghost rune.
You could even debate whether it should be deniable or not. You could just make it a rune that you can only interact with if you have bottle. So then there's always something for.
Do you think that
maybe
would?
you should still be able to. No, you should still be able to.
Do you think that would encourage getting 2 bottles on the same team consistently?
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, I think
but
something
that wouldn't
needs to be
necessarily
done
be a bad thing. I think that would be okay.
But yeah,
so okay.
If you have ideas, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was your main thing, was about power runes will get changed, and what was the other thing you said?
No, I have a big list. I have many more.
Oh, that you've only said that one thing. Okay, I thought you said 2 things. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Just do your whole list, then I'll do mine.
Okay. So some of these are just general like hero buffs, and I don't have ideas. I mean, I do, but it's not what I'm expecting, which is what this is supposed to be. So I'm breaking my own rules. I think Necro will be buffed. I think a good way to buff him, because they like to be inconsistent with everything anyway. Ghost Shroud not being dispellable, that's a huge buff for the hero. Quality of life. He's unplayable. If you get Nullifier, you just lose. It's just an auto win against that hero. He's garbage. Of course, he probably needs a little bit of love after the fact, but because Spirit Vessel's still going to be good against him. Like, there's so many items or things that are good against him. So I think that hero could use a buff. I think OD is going to get redesigned because that's tradition to redesign him every patch. So just got to keep that up. I think Pudge will be buffed.
Yes,
my
please.
hope. I don't think this is what this is not what I expect, but I hope that he will be buffed in a similar fashion to what we saw in Heroes of Newerth that we've talked about before, where you hook and you can move while the hook is going, and it's almost like a grappling thing. So it increases the chance. It was pretty broken in Han, I won't lie. There's ways to balance it, though. That makes it a lot of fun. Maybe too broken, though. We'll see.
I would rather have it just be faster then. If you wanted to have higher chance of connecting, then...
Boring.
Yeah, sorry. I'm boring.
I mean, it was already faster before, right? Try something new. Get a little bit more creative. I think
Okay.
DK. I don't have one for this, but DK I think is going to be buffed because of the anime. Uh, I was actually looking at his percentage at like the lower ranks. It's actually higher than 50%. It's just the top two, like Ancient and Divine and Immortal. It's sub 500 essentially. So I don't know what you would do to make him better though. You know, I don't like the fact that he's sometimes played off lane. That bothers me. It really bothers me. But then if you play him mid, it still sucks.
There's plenty of ways you could buff that hero, right? It's like it's a
Well,
very straightforward hero, so I don't think buffing is very difficult.
no, in terms of numbers, yes, but I'm trying to think of a creative way to buff him, like adding an
Uh-huh.
armor here or there, whatever. You know, you can do a million things.
Hmm.
I think I would like to see a nerf to all the spirits in the game. Not Spirit Breaker or Vengeful Spirit, but the
Hmm.
Ember Spirits, the Storm Spirits, the Void Spirits, and Earth Spirit. All
Hmm.
the brothers, they need to be nerfed. They're too strong.
I could actually be on board with all of them getting nerfed in the same patch.
I think it's going to happen, genuinely. I also, this one's kind of a hope, I guess, but I hope that they either, actually, no, I expect this. Either they're going to nerf Arcane Blink or they're going to buff Overwhelming Blink to actually put it into the same conversation as the other two. Overwhelming Blink is overwhelmingly the worst of the three blinks. Arcane Blink is the best. Although, actually, you could argue the other one, Swift Blink, is just as good now that they buffed it. You see that a lot now on late game carries.
Yeah.
Whereas Overwhelming Blink is still a pile of absolute shit. So make that better, please. Thank you.
Shannon, you know how I'm boring and shit?
Yes.
I don't like Arcane Blink as a design. I just don't like the item.
I actually agree with that. I think the CDR and the casting being
fine.
in the same package is the problem. Delete one of
I
those
think
aspects.
cast time reduction should not be a stat in this game. I think it's too hard to balance and too chaotic. And it's a core part of hero balance that spells are hard to cast and land. And when you give people a way of buying out of that, you give yourself a really hard job with balancing. And is it worth it? I don't think so. I actually don't think this item is worth it. But then again, I'm a boring old boomer who also didn't think status resistance was worth it or fun,
I love
which some
status
people
resistance.
still agree with me on.
Love it. Love it.
Um,
Don't touch it, Ice Frog. Don't listen to him. Don't you do it now.
Yeah.
So if you played Han for 6 months back in the day, you would not be saying these things. Cast point reduction is cool. I think the item in its current form is broken, though, because it does both. I think you got to get rid of one of them. It's too good. It's too good of a blink on specific heroes, like the old Shadow Fiends of the world. Way too good. Anyway, in addition to that, Cinderin, a more general thing, I hope that they nerf, and I think that they will. The high ground defense is too strong for mortals like myself in the mid range of the MMR. I can't even put my finger on what it is.
You want games to be easier to end.
Well, I want them. Okay, this is in addition to another change I have coming up here. So, high ground defense needs to be harder for the defenders. In addition, they need to increase the rubber band comeback mechanic in some fashion because right now, and it's become very noticeable in pro games, which you're gonna love this because I'm gonna agree with you to a small point here.
Wow.
Games are a bit methodical, where like with the bounties, I hate saying this because it's agreeing with you, but I only agree with you a little bit. The bounties coming at 5 minutes, outposts at 10, Roshan, once you get a lead, it's actually kind of difficult. EG found a way, but it's pretty difficult to lose it, it feels like. You just go about the motions, you know what you're supposed to do, and it usually works. Like, you could shoot after the laning stage, you could say this team's going to win and be right 95% of the time, probably. That's what I felt watching a lot of the pro games. So something needs to be tweaked.
Just as a reference, think about what happened with Roshan, right? You remember there was a time that Roshan respawned after 10 minutes?
Yes.
Right? And then they changed it so Roshan respawned a random time between 8 and 11, and they've never changed that since. And that was such a good change because it broke the monotony of teams planning minutely around when is the next big objective. But then instead, we've added other mechanics that do that. They're just not Roshan level impact, but it's bounties, it's outposts, it's neutral items that have a specific set time. Now this thing happens that you should go and do. And like you said, I mean, I've said it before on the podcast as well, right? I feel like the game is a little bit too, it's too much of a recipe of how to play. It's telling you what to do a bit too much. But yeah, go ahead, finish your list, and then I'll do mine.
God, I hate agreeing with you. Again, I don't fully agree with your take on it, but watching pro games, especially, it became more obvious that
it's at the pro level that it
case.
matters the most, because that's where people play the best and make the least mistakes. So then
Yes.
it will be amplified by a lot.
I also think, these are my last three, I think the Hoodwink, Ags, and Shard will be released along with her being introduced into Captain's Mode immediately. Sure. I think the Spectre Arcana will come out as well Friday. That's a prediction. And this is my major prediction for the hero that I'm going to be horribly wrong on. I don't think that it will be an anime-related hero because, again, I'm just pretending that I'm Valve. Probably had basically no contact with Netflix about the show other than, okay, do it. I don't think they're planning around that at all. That's my guess. I think the hero will actually be from Artifact, which would be hilarious. But it's been teased in a lot of these. It's been, I wish. It's been teased in that. Sorlakan would be great because of the high ground thing. That was one of my additions. Like, hey,
she can bring assault
high ground,
ladders so you can push.
Assault ladders, baby. The hero that has been the hero that's been teased the most in a lot of these comics is Vanessa.
She's also cool.
That's my prediction that the hero will be Vanessa.
You think it will be Vanessa, or you want it to be?
I think it will be. If I had a choice, it would be Sorlakan. Like I said, there'd be a lot of other heroes. Yeah. But if I had to choose a hero, Vanessa.
Okay. Which hero that is only an Artifact do you think would fit the least into the Dota universe based on how it works in Artifact?
Mazzy. Because he gets stronger with items. Like every item is just better on him. That. Like imagine getting 20 damage and it gives you 40 instead on just that hero. That's what that essentially would do.
That's like Alchemist with gold. I mean,
true,
it's not that far-fetched that you could have an item that or a hero that could do that. Like, then it's just weak but gets very strong from items.
I kind of like it now.
I could see it.
All right. Fair enough. All right, what do you got? That's my full list.
Do you think you could implement Kana in a meaningful way? She still does the thing where she spawns creeps, right?
Yeah. That's a tough one.
I feel like that's hard to implement in a meaningful way in Dota.
I mean, I feel like you could always do something with all of these heroes, but that one would be like just sitting on the spot thinking of it would be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to do it backwards then. So I actually think it's going to be Fimran.
Okay.
That will be the new hero. And I think because the timing with the anime is too perfect, and because of how I want to say how clear the spell casting was in the anime with Fimran, it would make sense without, yeah.
I actually think that's far-fetched. I legit think that's far-fetched.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I think if it's not Fimran, then I think it would be... I feel like the heroes that they had planned for TI, if we assume that the rumors are true with like Valkyrie and stuff, I think they're going to save those for TI, actually. So I don't think it's going to be those. Yeah, which would be... Yeah, so what would the next one be? Yeah, then I actually think Vanessa as well, or Sorlakan at that point. If you want to save the
there's
TI
no
heroes.
reason I think Sorlakan would have anything to do with this because she's never been teased in any Dota comics. Vanessa has many times.
Yeah, that's
why that's a good guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna go on record. If they're gonna take something from the anime, it'd be Kaden. That would be my choice still.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they could make Kaden as well.
Or Marcy.
All right, then. Let's see. So, what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen. So, what I think is going to happen is some sort of change to Necronomicon, because that's been kind of stupid lately, especially in pub tier play. We're gonna have. I think we're gonna have changes to this timed stuff that we've both talked about now. So, whether it's more random spawn time on runes, or less impact, or less of them in general, whatever it would be, something is going to change with that. I'm pretty sure. Then hero specific, I would like a buff to Pudge like you would. I think Dazzle has sucked for long enough. Would be nice to get my boy back a little bit.
What would you buff I think
on Pudge those are going to get buffed.
Hook speed. Would you choose anything different?
He needs to be better in lane somehow. I think that's the biggest problem. Is we had patches where Pudge was good in lane, and then he was actually played even at a pro level. and then he got nerfed again.
What do you
Like,
think of
remember the patch where
Jenkins?
he had a lot of regen on his passive.
That was
for
great.
example.
Getting passive level 1, that was great in lane. What do you think of Jenkins' idea that, I mean, part of his idea is shit, but activating Flesh Heap
Unsurprising.
and putting a rot on the ground in front of you somewhere, like as a projectile?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think that is what the hero needs, but it's a buff, obviously, so it's welcome. But I think I like Flesh Heap as a concept being passive, but activating it is fine. I just don't think it should be reworked on. In addition to that, then it should still have its passive component and just get something extra. If that's what he means, then that's fine, I think.
Give him a 1.0 turn rate. That'll make me happy. And cast
you
point
want that on
reduction
every
on
hero.
hook. That's true. That's true.
Okay, so what else? What other heroes do I really want a buff for? Let me just quickly. It will come to me when I see it.
You
I
play a
think
lot of
those
Clockwork, Syndarin. That's your favorite hero.
He could get a minor buff, but honestly, I think Clockwork is very much dependent on how good the other fours are rather than how weak he is. I don't think the hero is bad. I just think there's like some options right now are just too appealing. So I'll just go to the nerf train because that's where I'm always more interested in nerfs than buffs because I'm old and boring and I like that things get weaker and slower rather than flashier and faster. Yeah. So IO core needs to be nerfed, and I think an elegant way of doing it would be to nerf spirit damage on creeps so the hero farms slower. Then it gets dragged more in its support direction. But can still be played as a core with Dominator. It just farms a bit slower, which I don't think would be unfair. The hero farms fucking fast. Enigma should get nerfed, I think. Necronomicon, like we talked about. Alchemist. And another one of those heroes that's just conceptually either really powerful or really weak. I think right now he's too strong.
Do you like
those are
the
probably the
idea
biggest ones.
of
and the spirits, like you said. I would like nerfs too.
the concept of gifting Ags and refunding? Do you like that? I personally love it, but it is a bit gimmicky. Like a lot of teams tried it at the major.
I would like him to get a new Axe, honestly.
The win percentage is terrible for that at the major. Terrible.
Sure, but like conceptually, I don't think it's an interesting Axe, really.
Really? Gifting an Ags isn't interesting to you? Are you talking about the one that he gets himself?
You know what I mean? It's not an Axe.
That's the most interesting Ags in the game. And then you
give
get
him something cool that changes him instead.
Well, it does change him once you gift a bunch of Ags. You get, what is it? Is it attack speed or spell damage as well? Or
damage and spell amp, right?
Yeah.
It's damage and spell amp.
That's cool. That's the coolest Ags mechanic in the game. Easily.
I don't know.
Don't touch that ice frog.
I don't think it's that interesting, but that's fine. I mean, it obviously opens up some strategic avenues. I don't like the design because of how Alchemist is able to get gold in the way that he is, and then again, it becomes one of these like balancing things, right? Where it's just there's gonna be okay. Anyway,
okay.
Let's see. Yeah, so then the spirits. And I think that's pretty much it from like my short list of heroes that need nerfs. I think there's a lot of heroes that Lifestealer needs a buff, by the way.
Give him open wounds.
Can't believe I'm saying that, but
how about the shard becomes Ghoul Frenzy instead? Ever think about that one? Nobody would buy it. Poor Nakes. I miss my boy. I love him. He's so bad though.
Interesting. Okay, then on a macro level, I think the map will change a bit, and I hope it will. I hope it's less like we talked about previously on another episodes with the ward spots. I would like them to be a little bit less pronounced. So I hope that happens. What I think there will be some sort of map changes, but I hope that in addition that is part of it. I think the map is a bit too figured out right now. It would be cool to have the safe areas in quotation marks a little bit less defined. So the triangle areas, it's very obvious when you invade how to ward. It's very obvious how to protect. I think you could spice it up a little bit with different attack routes or slightly less obvious high grounds, especially for the vision. Those like the spots on the map that are like hills with eyes on them, when you attack or defend, they're just a bit too powerful, I feel, for how much information you give when you place those. Then I would like some... Do I think they'll do this? Probably not, but I would like some economy change to slow the game down a little bit. We already had some in this patch. I think creeps gave less gold or something. I still think heroes ramp up really fast, especially when they're already ramp up heroes like IO Core, Alchemist. Battle Fury needs a nerf. I think it's getting one. You've
probably.
noticed this playstyle on this patch that ramping is just really powerful. So a lot of things just play on ramp.
All right. Well,
It's
you
also
put in some hopes and dreams. So I'm going to finish with my hope and dream. Two things. The fountain gets buffed in some meaningful way. Okay.
Here
So
we fucking go again. Every patch, same shit.
Ice Frog. Okay, I know you watch this. Okay, Ice Frog. Just stop listening to everything Cinderin says, because we both know that you're a sadist at the end of the day. You enjoy people's pain. You've seen all these videos of non-pros getting stomped, sitting in their fucking fountain, waiting to die, and having to extend the game for 30 more minutes. So here's my list of hopes and dreams for Dota. Buff the fountain in some way. You can give it, I mean, they gave it kind of the Ursa thing, right? Give it multi-shot. Or here's a concept. Make it deeper so I can actually fucking hide from the people that are farming me all the time. How about that? Or, the most important one, add a fucking concede feature. It's 2021. It's time to get concede in Dota.
It's 2021. It's time to give up.
It's after the year that we've had with Corona, give us a fucking concede.
Ready to give up.
Please, for God's sake, just add it. It's not difficult. Every other game has one. Yes, there's abuses, I understand, but it's for the betterment of our community. To be able to give up when the game's fucking over instead of waiting 30 minutes while they destroy me left and right. Okay, so that brings us, unless you have more.
Yeah. No, I was just looking. I think. Do you want to quickly go over? So we both think Hoodwink is getting Axe, Scepter, and Shard, right? We both think
100%.
it's getting that, and it's getting into CM. I think so too.
Yep.
What Scepter or Shard do you think, if you had to guess, not what you want, but what do you think the hero will get? Based on, there was a bit of artwork leaked, right? There was like a quiver.
Yeah, we talked about this. The boomerang.
Yeah, right. Which one do you think is the Scepter and the Shard, and what do you think they're going to do?
I have no idea. We talked about what our hopes and dreams were for. You're putting me on the spot. This is supposed to be in the outline in advance, Cinderin.
All right. No, but you do this with me sometimes, and then I just need to think, and you're like, you're not thinking fast.
That's true. Actually, that reminds me. I should have said this at the beginning. The outline this week for episode 100 coming up will be available to everyone. Very exciting stuff. Usually, it's only for our top 2 tiers. So if you go to patreon.com/Dota Cinema, patreon.com/We Say Things, everyone will be able to see the outline when I post it after this stream. So enjoy. In terms of the ags for... Yeah, I mean, I played the hero one time, and it's not my kind of hero. You tell me what you think the hero needs.
It's not about what it needs. It's about what the artwork implies. Let's say we just believe that these 2 pieces of artwork are Hoodwink's Axe and Scepter, right?
Okay.
Shard and Scepter. So one of them is a boomerang and the other one is a quiver.
Mm-hmm.
What could a quiver even be on this? I think the boomerang is more obvious, right? The boomerang is probably the Scepter. It gives you a new ability where you can throw out a boomerang that in some way interacts with probably trees. I could see that being some sort of a synergy where it
I could see it be something where you throw it on the ground and then you can retrieve it later. Like it does something if it hits people on the way back, or I don't know, something like that.
Oh, so it lands and you have to pick it up. That would be usually, then you're pretty bad with a boomerang. It's usually supposed to come back.
That's true. And that's all the artwork they had, though. I mean, that's your kind of skill.
But that would be funny. Like
that's a League of Legends skill, if I'm not mistaken.
Her access gets the boomerang. She doesn't fucking know how to use it. That would actually be really funny.
Dude, you just throw it out. You smoke in the enemy fountain. You place your boomerang. You TP back to base. You retrieve it, and the boomerang just comes all the way globally and kills everything on the way. I think we need that in Dota.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Okay, that was a failed conversation. I'm sorry.
Thanks for attempting that, Cinderin. I appreciate it.
I really don't have any idea for the quiver. That's why I was curious. The boomerang, I feel like, is more obvious if it's the thing. What the fuck is a quiver on Hoodwink?
I feel like if I played the hero a bunch, I'd have a better idea. I could give you Ags ideas for every single hero in the game, probably, except for a few that I just don't play. Hoodwink, I'm the least familiar with. because I barely see it in
Okay.
pubs. Everybody thinks it needs a buff. So I think the Ags and the Shard will be essentially the buff for the most part. Okay. That brings us to the end of episode 99 of We Say Things. Episode 100 will be next week, where we will discuss the new patch as well as In Bruges, whether Sindarin watched it or not.
What a fucking episode.
And if he watched it, we will discuss the movie in its entirety and how we both love it very, very much. So thanks for watching,
It will
friends.
replace the NBA segment. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have an NBA segment. We'll see. Until next time, Suns fan Syndrin signing out. Goodbye.
Bye. Subscribe.
We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening.